There's a puppy in the bathroom.
No, somewhere out there.
I almost brought my puppy. That's fake puppy.
That would be fun. Okay, so how's everybody's nervous system?
I had a
Good?
good cry, so.
You had a good cry today?
Yeah.
Ah, yeah,
I think that's helped my nervous system.
good. Yes. Is that a common tool?
This was, not a tool I go to use.
For when that
but with-
appears?
Yeah,
Mhm.
let it rip.
Yeah, yeah. It's good bringing out. I'm a big fan of crying.
I cried a lot last week. I was like, I didn't know if this was because of the TRE, but I just like, and it wasn't even just like sadness cry. Like I saw the cutest golden retriever in like the backs when I was walking into the IGA, and I was just like started crying. I was like, "It is so cute." It was just one of those weeks where I was like just crying all over the place.
Is that
I was,
unusual for you?
It is unusual. Well, when I was little, I was a very big crier. I was like a happy, sad, crying.
You mean
kid.
little like toddler or?
I would say up until like when I had to go to school, my mom was like, okay, like we really need to, you can't cry. Like, we need to figure
Okay.
out a better way around this. So I just like, as I gotten older, I just like stopped crying, but
Mhm.
as much. But yeah, last week I was just like, felt like a kid again. I was like,
How did that sit with you?
at first I was like a little alarmed. I was like, oh my God. But I think it was good ultimately. Like I felt better after each
Good.
crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a client who is doing a lot of TRE, and she's just like, well, when am I going to just release everything? And I'm thinking, God, I hope not here. But she also told me when we started working together that she has a hard time crying. And then and we've been working together for quite a while, and she'll say, oh, when I left yoga the other day, I cried in my car the whole way home. I'm like, oh, or this or that. And she said, and then I cried. And it's like, do you realize now you're actually crying? You told me you have a hard time crying, but you're crying a lot. And she's like, oh. And I said, it is working, right? The TRE is working, which is that she's getting in touch with her emotions and she's allowing herself to express it. And she's like, oh yeah. It's like, if you want a TRE provider that's going to make you cry on the table, find somebody else, because we're not going to do that, because we really want the practice to affect our lives, our whole lives, not just like have a big cathartic vomit and then have to go back into a stressful life. But it's interesting what you said, that you were a crier until you went to school and then you couldn't cry anymore. Right. And then you said, and I felt like a kid again. So you're allowing, your nervous system is now saying you're allowed to express yourself like you did when you were a kid. And that's what we're all trying to do, right? We want to allow ourselves to, we want to be able to express ourselves the way we were before any kind of conditioning came on. Whatever was natural, as my teacher Mukunda used to say, whatever is naturally arising, that's what we're seeking again. And whatever it is, if you were a crier, if you weren't a crier, I was a door slammer. And we want to find what's natural to us and reclaim it, because that's how we came into this world, whether it was a crier or whatever. So you felt like a kid again because you were able to express yourself as you did when you were a kid. So all those years between now and when you first went to school, you were told, suck it in. Nobody wants to cry in school anyway. And certainly not where I grew up.
Yeah.
So, so great, keep it up, keep it up. So what I'm saying is, could be an outcome of the practice, and a very beautiful one. If you cried at golden retrievers. Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting we're talking about crying, because having this wave of memories. And when you said you cried a lot as a kid, I am a bit of a crier still, but I cried a lot as a kid. And I remember crying in public, being really embarrassed about it. I remember hating that my eyes would get puffy. I remember if I cried at night, I would wake up and I looked really puffy and it was like really traumatizing to go to school. I had a brother who was a boy and he cried a lot, which was very not good for a boy in our school district, and that felt very traumatic for me to watch
To know
that.
that he was having a hard time.
And I remember also, I'm actually fine, but I'll just say, I have this distinct memory, and I'm just sharing this because of what you just said about, you know, stifling stuff. I remember talking to some friend or something about crying and feeling self-conscious about it. And she said something kindly about like, well, you know, sometimes if you're upset, you just have to cry. And I said to her, like, how often do you cry? And I remember her saying something, I don't remember what it was, let's say it was once a week. And I said, you mean you don't cry every day? I was really young and I was shocked that she was like, not every day. And I remember her tone. And I realized like that I was like missing something, like I was, I mean, I'm still remembering it, I forgot it, like I'm still remembering like there's, I guess, different relationships to crying, like either you're more or less to cry about, or you're more sensitive or less. But I'm realizing just sitting here how much attached I am to the whole crying thing right now.
Yeah. So whatever our expression is, some people it's laughing, some people it's singing, some people it's screaming, you know. Some of the things we're conditioned by our parents, you know, what they do. That's where I got my yelling from, was my dad, thanks dad. And but I also got my laughing from him.
Mhm.
So I don't know who I got my crying from. I don't think it was either of mine. I don't think I've ever seen my mother cry except when her mother died. And so, yeah, we're gonna find, it's just that we find what's right for us. So like, how many times do you cry? How many times do you cry is, it's interesting, but it's somewhat irrelevant because you're just trying to find what your rhythm is. And whether you cry, I mean, my husband cries at sappy movies, he cries at commercials, he's crying all the freaking time. It's between him and his daughter watching the play, the terrible play that the high schoolers put on, and they're like handing me tissues. I'm like, I'm okay. Do you want another tissue? Like, you save it for yourself. You know, I'm looking at them like this. Oh my God. Genetic, right? So we're just trying to find, you know, what our natural thing is, and also the feeling of shame that may come up when we realize something has been stifled, perhaps unintentionally. Like, I don't think that person who said that meant to shame you, but it felt like shame.
Yeah, I distinctly wanted to match everyone else more than anything. So when I heard that it wasn't a thing to cry every day, I really found that
Yeah,
upsetting.
so there's shame there, and maybe one of the reasons you apologize every time you cry. Here. You know, I'm okay. It's okay. It doesn't, you don't have to say it. Just cry. I don't care. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't care. I don't mean it to be that I'm unfeeling, but I want to give full permission that if somebody needs to cry, they can cry. I was teaching a TRE like 4-session thing at this chiropractor's office. And it was the most bizarre thing because the chiropractor herself was there and she was taking it. And one of the people started to cry. And the chiropractor shut the show
told us
down.
this.
She shut it down. She's like, oh, let's talk about unicorns and balloons. And I'm like, okay. And that was the last time anybody cried in that. You know, she was very uncomfortable with that, which I thought was a shame because she's there releasing stuff from people's bodies. So everybody's got complete permission to cry. What's going on TV land? Anything you want to share?
Well, I had really well an experience, and I mean, I don't know if you can shed light on it, but I've been doing the tremoring before I go to bed,
Mhm.
and like my legs were like on autopilot, like they just kept going. And I was really, I wasn't doing it, it was being, happening. And
Wait,
I don't know,
let me ask a question to clarify. Did you intend to tremor or your body just started trembling? You didn't intend to tremor.
I intended a tremor, yep, and then it was just like this. And it just kept going, going. I mean, I don't know how, I finally was like tired and I stopped it.
Mhm.
But is that like, could it just go on and on like that?
How different was it from your usual experience of tremoring? How was it different?
Just that it kept going on so long, but the
Okay.
actual experience of it was similar.
Okay, so like the movement was the same.
Movement was the same.
Yeah. Um, it just sounds like your body needed to do it. You weren't freaked out by it, right?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
And you were fine the next morning.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I've always felt good the next day.
Yeah. It's just your
Yeah.
body needing to do it more. Yeah. And the fact that you say you were on autopilot, because kind of we want to be on autopilot with tremoring. So I just wonder if there was a way, if it's possible that for whatever reason, that particular time that you were tremoring, you were more surrendered than usual.
If I was,
What's that?
are you asking if I was,
No,
or?
I'm saying that it's possible that for some reason you were more surrendered than usual that night that you were
Mhm.
tremoring, that you didn't have any concern about what it was doing. You just handed it over to the goddess and let her move through your body, and then there was nothing for you to do. And maybe it was remarkable in a way, like, huh. It reminds me almost of like if you can remember when you learned how to ride a bicycle. I'm making an assumption you know how to ride a bicycle, but you know, a lot you're got somebody running behind you or you're on training wheels, and then one day it's nothing and you're like, oh, I'm doing it. And surrender is sometimes like that. Like we think we're doing it, and then we go, oh no, this is really doing it. So I don't know if that resonates in any way, but that's what comes to me.
Thing was then I was doing it and it went for a bit and then it just, my legs went very firmly, like boom, boom, boom. And it was like this, like they would stick together and it was like it was very different. And then
Mhm.
it was done.
And then it was done. Yeah.
Yeah, like what's that about?
That was just another pattern that was coming out.
Okay.
And you know, the pattern, we don't know how the patterns are gonna circulate, quite literally, are gonna circulate. Sometimes people's patterns, like you may be tremoring for, let's say, 10 minutes, and it's almost like a wallpaper border. Remember they used to have those wallpaper, well, they probably still have them, where like Winnie the Pooh and then all of his characters, and it goes on, it repeats. But if your wall's only this big, you only get that repeating pattern of it. But if you have a really big room, you're going to see it over the same pattern over and over again. So our tremoring is a little bit like that. If you're tremoring for 10 minutes, you're only seeing that much of the pattern. But if you're tremoring for a half an hour, you're going to see that pattern repeat, 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 repeat. What we don't really know, what's not predictable, is how much time does it take for the pattern to repeat itself, right? So you may have a pattern that repeats every 2 minutes or every 5 minutes or every half hour. But if you don't tremble for a half an hour, you don't get to see that end of the pattern. You don't get to see Eeyore on the border because you cut it off, and Eeyore is nowhere to be found. He's on the cutting room floor. So it could be that because you were tremoring longer, that was the time that you were tremoring longer, right? Where it went like that. So it could be because you had a longer period of time to tremor, that part of the pattern revealed itself. You got to see it, and then it stopped. And then it was over. And I would even further suggest, and I don't know this to be true, but it's just, again, what comes to me is that you had to tremor that long to get to that part of the music. And then it was done. And you've tremored since then?
To the band legs.
You're breaking up a little bit. Say it again.
I have, and it went back to the normal,
Okay.
what I usually experience, which is more like my legs are like sort of like rubber bands or something. Yeah.
So if your legs are still moving because you've been tremoring for a while, I'm gonna ask you to straighten one of your legs out.
Okay.
And let's interrupt the pattern. Because if it's the same, and so those of you who are newer and those of you who are not newer, that if your pattern is the same boring border along, interrupt it. Because something else is going to be revealed. And sometimes the pattern repeats itself because, well, because sometimes it's easier. Just like all of you who have never tremored before, a couple of weeks ago, it was easier not to. Not that it, you know what I mean? Now you had to come here, you had to pay, you have to work, you have to stand against the wall, for God's sake. So it's easier not to do it, right? And when you get into a pattern, sometimes it's easier just to continue the pattern. But that doesn't mean it's the best to do, right? So it's time to start interrupting the pattern, especially because you got shown an ending part. It's possible if you interrupt the pattern, what was revealed after, let's say, a half an hour of tremoring, and then boom, will be revealed sooner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
We'll see. Okay, anything else?
I tremored last week on my own.
Mhm.
I think I told you I was a little bit reluctant to do
Mhm.
it, but I worked really hard in the garden on Saturday digging out the shale in my yard. So I figured that it was gonna be pretty easy to get started.
Mhm.
And at first I was shaking a little, but not as much as I typically did here.
Mhm.
And I rested for a minute and I went back up and it was just like a shake fest. And it kind of started to move up and kind
Mhm.
of settled in my hips for a while and moved up a little bit. And I just felt like
Mm.
from my chest. And I had like a couple of almost like convulsive shakes of my shoulders. And then I was like, okay, I think maybe it's time to chill out a little bit.
Mhm.
But it's almost like an out of body, like I'm watching it happen and it's like, it makes me giggle. Like we talked about that the first time. Every time it's just like, how is this happening?
How did you feel after?
I felt relaxed,
Okay.
but energized.
Energized. Okay.
Yeah.
And you felt embodied.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I felt good.
Good. And did you feel nervous about how big the tremors were?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
So just know if you get this creeping feeling like, uh-oh, stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yay.
I do have a question though. The
Mhm.
first time that I shook you said not to do it every day. Is that for the less experienced people or you can
Yeah.
work up to
You
that?
can work up to that, yeah. So sometimes we're tremoring and we feel irritated the next day or yeah. And because what you're doing is you're peeling off some protection and you're, you might be going into like, oh, look at this pattern, time to get rid of it, but it may not be time to get rid of it, right? So we just don't want to go too fast. And because we all have different sensitivities, we all have different lives, we all have different energies. And some of us are gonna, be fine tremoring every single day for half an hour a day. And some of us, it's gonna be destructive, right? So, like if you're somebody who has sensory issues, lights are bright, noise is loud, it's not gonna get better. Your reaction to it will get better, right? So we're making the nervous system more resilient. So if there's a loud noise, we can calm down more quickly afterwards. But we can't expect that to happen all at once. So sensitivity is going to increase. You want to integrate that increase before you start to make it like this.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I know, especially working in this area, in this valley here, we have to be people are highly sensitive. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a way like people have a certain sensitivity that's like if I went into, we did this in New York City once and people were just like, can we do more? People are like, can you feel that? No, I'm fine. What do you want? I lived in New York. I grew up in New York. I know, you have to survive on the subway. So you're like, but here it's not the same way. So we want to go slowly so that we can integrate the sensitivity, the higher levels of sensitivity. We do want higher levels of sensitivity, but we don't want to be irritated by it. So that's why I was asking how you felt afterwards. That was my primary concern, not what happened during the tremoring, but did you feel okay afterwards? And if you say, yes, I did, it was a lot of shaking and I was fine, I was embodied, great, keep going.
Yeah, I wanted to shake more the next day and I didn't because you had said not to do it.
Oh,
Every
okay.
day. That's
I think
why
you
was
can
asking.
now, but what I might do is limit it to like 10 or 15 minutes. If you're gonna start doing it every day, limit it to about 10 or 15 minutes and see now, this is a different prescription
Mhm.
and see how that goes.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you're not sure if you're becoming too sensitive in the not great way, ask your family members. They're sure to tell you.
I will need to ask them.
Yeah, or the people you work with, they will most likely let you know that you're too sensitive. Yeah, you know, that's what happens when women menstruate. You know, it's become like a really negative thing, like, oh, you're so sensitive, oh, you're on the rag, you're so emotional. It's because our energy field is like this when we're menstruating, you know, it's like, wow, we have all of this prana running through us and we're just connected to everything. But it's got a negative connotation and there's too much input. And so it tips us over. It's trigger stacking. We're just it's overloaded and we don't have a chance to integrate. And if we did, then we can use that power for something much more impactful, but we can't.
And half the time, the person that's saying, "Oh, you're so sensitive," like if you're married, is like just a really annoying person.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think that's an accident. You know?
And by the way, for my fellow crones who are no longer menstruating, you are apparently in that expanded field of awareness all the time.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's why I feel
Yeah,
like I'm
that's
having
what
open heart surgery without anesthesia
Yeah.
sometimes. That's what it feels
It's
like.
true. That's right.
So like,
Yeah.
the world's too much.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if you're sleep, like I would get very sleep deprived. So if I'm very sleep deprived, I'm more crazier. Do you know, like
That's different.
sleep deprived from like menopause stuff? You know,
Oh, yeah,
So then-
I don't want to get into
Yeah,
every
no, I know, but-
symptom of
Yeah.
menopause.
but like you
we'll
can
be
be
here all.
hypersensitive if you're tired.
Yeah, you can, but it's a little different.
Okay,
Yeah,
never mind.
but thank you. Okay, anything else? All right, let's get shaken. All right, so today we're just gonna lay down.
Serious?
Serious.
Oh, wow. I was like,
Yeah.
going to the wall.
Getting ready to go.
No, you're gonna do the pelvic lift. And nothing under your head for now.
Like this one.
Sue, can you take off your blurred vision? Because I can't, it's weird to see you guys. Can you take off my blurred vision? So soles of the feet together, knees open to the side. Thank you. Good. Now I can see you. And then just tip the camera down a little bit. Great. I didn't even know Christine was there in the background because she was just a little far behind the blurry. All right, soles of the feet together, knees open to the side, lift your pelvis, butterfly bridge. Tailbone high, gluteals working. Navel center pulled in slightly. Okay, come on down. Knees rest, open, body rest, belly lifts and lowers. Okay, and then on your own, slowly start to take your knees up a little at a time. You're looking for that vibration, that little key that shows, oh yeah, body's starting to tremor. Stay there for a little bit before you move up a little higher, unless you're very experienced and you know that where your sweet spot is. Or even if you are very experienced, try that because that's breaking a pattern. Yeah, the one thing that sets TRE apart from some other modalities that have tremoring in them, even something like EMDR, which is kind of like tremoring but not, is that you are the one who's regulating it. So you're the one who's controlling, not controlling the tremors, but controlling when and how you tremor. And the secret to when to know to stop is what is happening with your nervous system. So if you feel your nervous system getting charged or freezing, so you're kind of like not aware of what's going on, then it's time to take a rest. That's all. You have not done anything wrong. It's just time to rest. If your knees are still pretty far apart, go ahead and draw them a little closer together. The other thing that we're regulating is how the tremors are moving through us. So you can feel if your knees are wider apart. Some of you may have more like floppy legs. If you bring your knees closer together and have your feet flat on the floor, you may find more like a vibration, or maybe your hips are moving a little bit more. So slowly start to work your way up with your knees so that you can get your feet flat to the ground. I want you to feel when the right time to put your feet to the ground is. And if you're not sure, try it and see what happens. See what it feels like. If your feet are flat, what is the difference between having your feet flat and having your soles of your feet together? Can you feel a difference? And don't be concerned that you're going to break something. That if you put your feet flat, it's going to ruin the tremors. You can always backtrack. Good, Sue. Okay, now if you haven't put your feet flat on the ground yet, go ahead and do that now, please. Find the distance between your knees that is the most appropriate for you right now. You are free to move your knees out to the side more or closer together. You are free to move your feet in closer to you or further away. And we're going to add one more thing, which is you're going to step your feet apart a little bit if they're not already. Just walk them away from each other a little bit. See if you can get your shins and your thighs parallel to each other. And if the tremoring doesn't, if it's tremoring stopped and it doesn't start up right away, just give it a few breaths. If you moved your feet away and you're still tremoring and you preferred it with your feet closer together, you can always take your feet back together. Okay, let's come into a rest. Remember where your legs are, remember where your feet are, and then come into a rest. Just take note of where you ended. You don't have to go back there, but you also may, especially if you're newer, you may want to go right back into that position. Take a few breaths. Notice how you feel. Notice how your nervous system is doing. If you feel very relaxed and happy, you don't need to tremor anymore. You're where you want to be. Okay. Or if you are curious or you just want to tremor some more, go ahead and when you're ready, it doesn't have to be right now, it could be whenever you want. You're going to come back into the tremoring. You can go right to the place that you went to before we rested, or you can have your feet a little closer together. Most likely, you don't have to start with your feet together. and your knees coming up. You certainly don't have to, after we rest, you don't, most likely do not need to lift your hips up again. So you don't have to worry about doing that. Good, so I was gonna suggest that, try the other leg, perfect. Good job. Notice if anything changed after the rest, if your experience of yourself, of the tremors has changed. Could be a very slight shift, like your breath is different. It could be that you notice a difference in the pattern. And maybe try something else, like if you've had your hands on your body, maybe take them off. If you've had your hands off your body, maybe take them on. Remember, you're free to rest whenever you want to. You're going to go for about another minute, so you can choose to rest now with your legs straight, or you can continue to tremor, or you can take a little rest and then come back again. Wherever you are, notice how your nervous system is doing, how your body is doing, and how your mind is doing. Okay, let's come with the legs straight now, please. Legs out straight. If your body is still tremoring, flex your feet, make fists with your hands, and make the request that your body stop tremoring. I'm going to go into Shavasana for about 2 minutes, just letting your body rest, letting whatever you just did integrate. So like you're digesting, right? Just like after you eat, can't go swimming for 2 hours because your body's digesting. So
I'm
after
way overcharged.
you're up, sit up, take some water.
I wanna get up and run around.
You can stand up. Do you want to stand up?
What I really wanna do is see how quickly I can like just let it.
Okay.
Do whatever it needs to do
Mhm.
without panicking, like, I don't know what that would be, but let's try it.
Just try some deep breathing. Feel your seat on the ground. Feel your hands on your legs. Feel your clothes on your body. Are we accelerating or decelerating?
Decelerating.
Okay, great. Your brakes are working fine. Okay, everybody feel the weight of your body. Feel the outline of your body. Feel how the outline of your body connects to the earth. And let's start to deepen the breath and move your fingers and toes, hands and feet. And come up any way that you would like, but do it in a nice, gentle way, please. Take your time, any movements that you'd like to make, anything that's naturally rising, any stretching or yawning or tugging, whatever you'd like to do. Okay, how's everybody doing? You okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? Sure,
Yeah, I'm good.
okay. How are we online? Okay. Okay. So what happened? Were you surprised that you were able to tremor so quickly?
Yes,
Okay,
very.
okay.
I thought after the first session when we did so many and last week with the walk, and at home I just do the butterfly bridge, but that was rapid. I
Yeah,
mean, it was really amazing how quickly, I was like, she knows something. You.
no, your body knows something. Your body is like, okay, I'll do this now.
That is that familiar from a few little
Mhm.
lessons.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Feel it, experiences. Yeah, yeah. How you doing, Brett?
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just so like, it's so accessible and there's way more there than is convenient.
way more what?
There's way more there that is convenient. It's like dropping into white water all of a sudden and then you're just like, oh shit, there's so much, I can't get rid of it.
So I think the experience you had was a good one because you said exactly right. I want to see how long it takes me to come back.
Okay,
Yeah, but that should not be your whole practice.
okay,
So your practice is, I don't want you going into white water. I want you stepping into the Delaware here,
okay.
not up where you got to wear a helmet to go in the water. Okay. Because why would you keep doing that?
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
But you're coming back and you want to do this. So you want to step in nice, shallow, warm, soothing water. That's where the regulation is going to come in. You may have to tremor a lot less.
okay.
Next
So
week,
just a little.
a little bit, yeah.
Okay,
So if you see white water, you're done. Take a rest or get up.
okay,
Yeah, it's a really good imagery that you offered because we all know what that looks like, right? And you know what it, more important, you know what that looks like. So you're gonna step into a nice warm tidal pool.
to stay in, like, I could feel that the energy was really jerky and big, so if I'm
Mhm.
there, do I just sort of contain it better
Mhm.
and just get a small vibration?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
Okay.
one way to do it.
So
You
don't
can
let
do
the
what I
body-
asked you to do, which is straighten out one leg. You can try that.
okay,
Mhm.
so don't let the body dictate, cause the body's like, hey, listen, hey, listen, hey, listen, I want big.
Yeah,
I feel big.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, we don't want to go there. Okay,
right, right.
Okay,
I mean, this is a tricky balance because you're hearing me say, oh, you let your body do what it wants to do. But then I also layered on the self-regulation part. So, you want to let the body do what it wants to do, but it has to be okay for the nervous system.
Mhm.
So if you feel the nervous system amplifying, but you're like, but this is what my body wants to do. Got to be, we need a trinity. The body, the mind, and the energy have to agree.
Okay.
Yeah. I was once on a horse in
Uh-huh,
the Dominican Republic.
uh-huh,
I love horses, but I'm not really a trained rider. I was on this horse and this horse on the beach, my dream, riding a horse on the beach.
Right.
This horse, boom, shot off. I mean, it shot, I was in downtown, wherever the heck I was. I'm running, the horse is running down the street. People are going like this. And I'm like, this is so much fun. Oh my God, I'm on the beach and now I'm on, and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening?
Right.
I have no idea if I'm gonna get hit by a truck
Right.
or car. I don't know if my husband is anywhere, the guy who owns the horse, if he's
Right.
anywhere. I had no idea. I could not control this
That's
horse.
terrifying.
And so at first it was like, wow. And then I was like, ah, don't go there.
Okay.
Yeah. Once the horse hit the asphalt, I should have been off of that horse. Because I know it's not good to run the horses on that. And this horse was just like, I'm free. I don't know where it was going. So don't go on that wild horse.
Okay.
You right now, where you are now, you want to be on the pony that's going around in a circle.
Okay.
Okay, you got it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting because it's with somatic experiencing, you come to completion with the activation, whatever the activation is.
Mhm,
And it can be really scary when you're at the height, but you come out of it and you resolve
mhm,
and then you integrate.
mhm.
So I always have this idea with tremoring that you're actually going to come to the end of it.
Yeah.
But it sounds like certainly not in one session.
No,
Okay.
just like I told my client, we're not going into cathartic crying here.
Okay,
It's working for her.
Okay.
She's fine. She's doing great.
okay,
She's and she's facing triggers that she never thought she could face.
okay.
So we're taking the slower approach.
So we're actually titrating whatever's going on just a little bit at a time. It's not wasted time and there is no.
Oh, it's
big-
not wasted
okay,
time. Yeah,
okay.
we're not looking for the plateaus. We're looking for
Okay,
the steady stream of steam. If you were, there's a woman around here who does a week trauma resolution. You stay in this beautiful place and
Mhm.
she feeds you and you're doing all these, and you don't have a phone or anything. Okay, let it be cathartic there, but you
Okay.
gotta go to work tomorrow.
right, okay. So just, it's just a little bit at a time.
It's a little bit at a
Okay.
time. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
got it.
Do not step into the foamy water.
No, I'm good.
We don't know what's under there.
I do and I don't wanna go there. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Clear Caribbean waters where you can see your feet. Yeah, you ever been in that? He's like, I can see my feet. This is not like the
Yeah.
Jersey Shore.
Yeah,
You're swimming in pickled water.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Sue, how was it to have one leg straight?
It's amazed that the leg that was down was going crazy. So, and then when I flipped the other time, the other leg, same thing.
Yeah.
So I don't understand it, but I guess it's not to be understood.
Yeah, you don't have to understand it. I mean, sometimes I'll see like people have hip flexor stuff and it's better for them to have the leg straight because the hip is no longer in hip flexion. So now that leg can do a really nice internal external rotation. You're laying, it's neutral, it's great. But yeah, we don't have that. That's what I'm saying, that then we can understand that. But other than that, we're just watching. We can move our bodies in different ways and the tremors will move through us differently. We're just interrupting the pattern.
And then I guess if then that becomes a pattern, then you do a different position,
Yeah,
like all different positions you can do. Just tweak it.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I want to, because I was watching Cindy and I wish everybody could see her tremor. Maybe she'll come and tremor for us in person one day. Because Cindy goes into these contractions like this, right? That's what you were doing today. So she's having this great movement. It looked great. I don't know if it felt great, but this great pulling with her hip was like this. If I was laying down and do it was like this, and then her neck and her shoulders going like this, and one time her leg was coming in like this. And why I want to tell you about that is because it could happen to you. It could happen to you that things start to pull. Cindy, do you want to talk about that experience a little bit? You just muted yourself again. There you go.
I'm a little zoned out right now, but
Okay, you don't have to talk if you don't want
no,
to.
it's good. I'm just so calm. Last week I I made a proclamation that I was going to tremor before I work out every day so that I wouldn't be so against it. But that, like life goes, that didn't work out at all.
Against tremoring or working out?
Working out has happened, but I didn't tremor before. But I've been tremoring every night in bed, which is not usually my favorite place to tremor. And what I've been noticing is exactly what you're saying. My right hip is wanting to release, it wants to pull down, and my left hip bone wants to pull forward. And I'm noticing that with my lower spine, which has been really helpful because, I'm letting it go until whenever it wants to stop. I'm not stopping it. I'm not resting. I'm just letting it go. And it's been an improvement in my sacral region
Mm,
this week.
yeah, great.
I've noticed. So that's what was happening. And I'm probably talking a little funny. I'm wearing a dental orthotic, and I'm doing a whole lot with this area of my body, opening my nostrils for breathing at night and doing stuff in my throat, laser and laser in my nose. It's been wild, but it's all connected because I now want to pull my neck back so I can have a bigger breathing space in my body. And I can feel my hip adjusting, wanting to drop, and my other one wanting to come forward. So it's been interesting. So the tremoring's been really helpful. It's been very calming this time or this whole week, doing it in bed, which again is not my favorite place, but actually this bed is too soft.
Yeah.
But yeah, there has been big pulls in those directions.
Yeah, so pull is really the word. If you feel something pulling, does anybody have that? I know you get it. So one of the things is that because we're working a lot with fascia, we're working with the nervous system. The interface between the nervous system and the physical body is your fascia. And so fascia, when it's tight, we feel like we want to stretch it, but it doesn't really work. We can stretch and stretch and stretch. What does work is a very deep contraction, and then it releases. Or when Cindy was showing like the hip pulling and then pulling the other way, pulling and pulling. So these fascial releases can happen to some people at some time, or to some people all of the time, or a lot of the time. It happens a lot to me also. And I'm always grateful for it. And I don't know how to teach that. I think it just happens. For some reason, it happened to Cindy pretty quickly, I think, in your tremoring career. So what I want to say is, if you feel a pull like this, don't think you're doing something wrong. Don't try to come out of it. Let it happen. Let it happen. I think people who get the fascial release technique from me will get there more quickly. And it's not necessarily a place to get. But if, like, Cindy has a lot of stuff going on in her sacrum, so for her to have that pull is really good. I am having a lot of stuff in my neck recently. So if I start to have this fascial pattern like this, it's good because it's working on a specific injury that I've had. So it's just something else to look for. The tremoring is, when we say tremoring, it doesn't always mean this. Sometimes it means this, sometimes it means a rocking, the hips are rocking, sometimes it means this kind of pulling. It's funny because sometimes we have, especially when people are online, if their boxes are over each other, they start tremoring the same way. And we had a group of people who were tremoring like this.
What?
Yeah, it's like doing all these crunches. And what is this? This is the diaphragm seeking to release.
Oh.
Like when you hiccup, where you're trying to puke and it's not working. So we may see these kind of repetitive patterns in somebody because something's trying to release. So anyway, that was just to say, if you experience that in tremoring, just go with it if you're comfortable going with it. It can hurt sometimes. Like it hurt, like, I feel like really sharp in my, not sharp, really dull, but very strong in my neck. But I'm looking for that sensation actually, because I know what's going to follow is like a.
Could I ask a question, please?
Huh?
Tonight, and it's happened before, and it happened once when I was doing a private session with you. I had a huge pop in my hip. Pop, I think is the word for it. or a crack. And it was a releasing crack. Would you imagine that's fascia perhaps, or would it be,
It could be, I mean, it would be, let's say it's fascia releasing, and because of that release, a tendon might have moved into the right place.
got it?
Yeah, or even a joint might have moved into the right place, right? Like when people crack their knuckles and it can sound really loud. So it could be crepitus, just the sound of the joints moving, or it could be a tendon. Like if it's a tendon, sometimes you also feel like a thunk.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you felt that or not. And the cracking, I would say, be a joint releasing something and repositioning itself. And if you felt a clunk or something, it could be the tendon just going into the right. If it felt good after it happened, then it's going back into the right place.
Yeah, it's not the tendon. I think you're right. It's about a joint.
Yeah.
Something popped in.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's
All
good,
sorts of bizarro things are going to happen. That's what's so fun about it.
mhm.
Any other questions or shares?
Do you have a preferred time of day to shake?
I have done, you mean personally? I've done it both in the morning and in the evening, and I will do it in the morning, not all the time, but I will do it in the morning a lot of times before a meditation practice because it clears my head. Like I wake up with a really, really busy mind. Like I'm like, ching. So I'll tremor before I meditate and I find it's a little clearer. And I will tremor if I'm in bed reading because I'm laying down. And I figure, let me just discharge some stuff that maybe I didn't have a chance to discharge during the day. I can't say, I have not really tracked to say I have better sleep or not. I'm not sure. I will tremor if I'm having trouble falling asleep to get to sleep. It's just telling my favorite recipe for not being able to sleep is to tremor while I'm listening to a book on tape. It works almost every time. Got my mask with the earbuds in it, Bluetooth, and I'm listening to story and tremoring. And before you know,
You'll like fall asleep while you're tremoring, if you're just
Yeah.
out.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I imagine I stop tremoring and then
Okay.
I fall asleep, but I'm usually not present for it.
Okay.
Right. And then like the next day I'll go back on the book and I'll say, how long was I tremoring for? And it's like 2 minutes, I'm listening. I was like, how could I only listen to, like, they were just saying, hello, how are you? And then I'm out. So I do sometimes, and if I'm having trouble falling asleep, I like to have that book tell me how long it was that I was awake for. You know what I mean? Like a couple of nights ago, I could not sleep at all.
Had peace the
Had the
first time.
30-minute timer on my on the book, and I'm like, oh, 30 minutes went by and I'm still not asleep. Oh, there. And I said to myself, why are you not tremoring? And I said, I don't know. So I started tremoring, and then I didn't have another 30 minutes. So I like to do that too. And I will also tremor sometimes if I have a big class to teach, not like this for a yoga class, but something that I'm not so sure of, or in a place that I'm not so sure of, because I know my nervous system is gonna be a little like, I will tremor before I have to go on a trip, before having to go through to the airport and, do all of that nonsense that takes, yeah. So I wouldn't say that I'm stuck on a time, but maybe a situation.
So if you need to focus on something, it sounds like it's one of the best,
Yeah.
one of the best.
Yeah. If you regulate yourself in some way, your focus is going to be better. It's like saying, could everybody just be quiet? I have to balance my checkbook, but you're saying it in here.
Sure.
Could you all be quiet in there? I'll attend to you later. And so tremoring can help you get into that mind space. You have to experiment with it though, right?
Yeah.
Because I imagine you could be so relaxed and now you don't have any interest in balancing your checkbook. And who really balances their checkbook these days anyway? I know every time I say that, somebody says, I do. Anybody? Okay. So you may not want to even do it, and maybe that's actually the best course of action. It's hard to say, but you know, you want to see one. Also, I want to say that the activation, like going into the white water, there can be an opposite action in the tremoring, which I'm not sure if I spoke about, is collapse. So we don't want to go into collapse either. Collapse is just the other end of the spectrum. There's a complete like triggered agitation, and then there's the collapse where you're like, I don't know, am I tremoring? Right? We're in the mud, we're in the quicksand there. So we don't want to be there either. So if you have a tendency towards that and you feel that coming on, that's just as an important time to rest as if you're feeling like you're agitated, the agitation is going.
Did you say collapse is like a numbness?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, numbness or freezing, if you feel that your extremities are cold, but it's not cold where you are, that's a freezing, and that's a good time to stop too. If you feel like you're doing something like this, that's a freezing, and you want to stop with that too. So we're looking for freezing, as I just described, flooding, white water, freezing, flooding, fleeing, which you were doing also, right? I want to run out of here. But it makes sense. You're in a flood. Why wouldn't you run? Get away from the flood. Freezing, flooding, fighting, you're ready for a fight, dissociation. You're over there, but your body's down here. Or you're just thinking about dissociation, we're all dissociated most of the time anyway. But if you have a history of severe dissociation, you want to not go there. It's hard. I think that's the hardest to recognize. Freaking out, fainting. Fainting is also a shutting down, a collapse. And fawning, but I don't know how you'd recognize fawning in tremoring other than to say, wow, I should have told that person what they wanted to hear, or I should have given them what they wanted, or things like that sometimes comes up.
Seems like it's really paradoxical in some ways. I'm thinking about how I feel the same way when you said like, oh, I'm watching this happen to me, like I'm not in control, but we're so in control. Like we stop this.
We stop it, yeah.
And then it can, after resting, to me, it's amazing to go back and just have it start again.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I really let go and let it happen. And it's out of my control, but by the same token, it's 1 second, it's stop.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, I'm done.
I just feel like it's one of the only times that I'm okay with being out of control. It's like,
Yeah. It's something that it really gives us, is allowing us to let go of the control, kind of be in the space of the unknown, like what's my body going to do now? Is it going to stop? Is it going to keep going? Being in the place of the unknown, as long as you feel safe in that, it's a really good experience. There's a lot of things that we do to get that, like, skiing, or all these weird sports that we do, or, being on a horse in the Dominican Republic, being out of control can feel good too. As there's the surrender aspect is a sibling of the being out of control. And there's so many things happening in our body anyway that we're not controlling, but we know it's happening. Like right now we're digesting food, right now our blood is circulating, there's a lot of things that are working that we don't have control over, yet we allow them to happen. The difference is this is something we can see. And this is just as important a function. It's not as important as breathing, right? But it's an important function that our bodies should be doing. There's a lot of people I work with who are tremoring, they don't feel the tremors. Like their body is visibly tremoring, but they're not feeling it. And because they're very disconnected from their bodies. Why did I say that? Because some people can feel, I remember somebody telling me, when you're ovulating, don't you feel the egg releasing? And I'm like, no, but some people do.
The ping.
The ping, see, you feel the ping. I never felt the ping. I just felt, oh, hurts. Give me a heating pad. That's what I felt. So, you know, we have some different sensitivities to her. I remember somebody telling me, oh, I eat spaghetti and there's just too much sugar. And I'm like, what? No, just give me more spaghetti. Some people can't even be near coffee because the caffeine is too much, right? So we all have different sensitivities. So what I'm saying is we can be sensitive to some of the functionings in our body, and we're okay with that mystery, right? Maybe we don't even think about it, but this is a mystery too, and we can see it, and it has an immediate effect on our nervous system. Yeah. What we're doing is we're seeing our nervous system for the first time. It is ruling everything in your life.
Yes.
It really, really it is. So let's get to know it and try to learn to read it and see what it's doing, and then, you know, work with it. Yeah, yeah. So it's good to all that have that feeling of being out of control. I mean, let's face it, we are out of control. Certainly the last 4 or 5 months should show us that. Yeah.
When you were speaking about, it could start when we can stop it, that word empowering just came up again for me. And, you know, I described something a couple weeks ago, Bonnie, you said you felt good because it was empowering, and realizing just that that's like a big theme for me. Like, I don't always find empowering, and when I do, it's like a huge relief, you know? I really like that.
Yeah, we are seeking our power.
And then I'm just having another
Reclaiming.
revelation, and now I'm thinking maybe that has to do with empowering. Like, I know we can try in different positions, like sitting and all standing and stuff, right? And I know you've said, oh, and I'll try around the plane. And I was gonna ask you, oh, well, when you're lying in bed, or you're just like, well, just tremor. Sometimes I've noticed, like, I had sometimes a little resistance to tremoring, and even when you say the words, so I just tremor, I'm like, I get this resistance feeling, and I'm tracing it to, I think I get in my own way. Like, I don't love lying on my back like this and trying to tremor because it's uncomfortable, and I feel trapped, and I feel like it gets me in this pattern of moving in a way I
Then it's
don't
not for
like.
you.
Right. So instead of just snapping out of that and picking something else, I don't want to tremor because it's going to feel worse, and I get kind of irritated. Instead of freeing myself up and realizing that I have the power to like pick a new, like, it's funny when you said, oh, and I'll just tremor in bed listening to a book, I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to do that because now that's really negative. And I think I have to flip that. Like, there must be another way, because I'm really uncomfortable sometimes
Then yeah,
sleeping.
so you take the if you want to, you take the action of getting up and sitting in a chair or getting on the floor.
Or
I
or lying on
mean,
my
Cindy
side.
said she doesn't like to tremor on her back and in the bed either.
Mm.
So just because I tremor in bed
Right.
doesn't mean we're all gonna tremor in bed. And you heard me talk about the resistance the other night when I was like, why am I not tremoring?
Right.
Right, so we all will encounter the resistance. That's okay.
I'm just calling myself on it out loud because I felt it come up for me. I didn't want to get up and go to a chair, but I really should just go on my side.
Yeah, if that's good, what it's gonna take, go on your side.
But it's funny that I just noticed how stuck I got with that. I was like, I didn't want to because it's gonna hurt, instead of just empowering myself to go on my side.
Well, let's see what happens next time it comes up and see if you can remember that empowerment. Say, I have a choice. I do have a choice. We have a choice. It's our body. We have a choice of how we're gonna tremor, when we're gonna tremor, where we're gonna tremor.
So I can just sit here and just, it's like a tiny trickle and just let it happen, and it's fine, and it's not freaking me out, and it's not gonna escalate. And I could probably do this for 20 minutes and just let it, so it's like electricity.
Well, you'll see.
Yeah, and if it's, I guess that's the analogy that I'm asking, is it like, or water, where you can just keep a steady, very small flow, and that's not disruptive.
Well, I mean, it depends.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that it depends on whether it's okay for you or not, but what you're feeling
Mhm.
is, it's not like, there's a woman who's been coming here to classes for a while and she's like, like concerned that she's got this energy running through her and she wants to know how to make it stop. And I'm
Oh.
like, why do you want to make it stop?
Right, exactly.
And she's had, you know, really tight hips, and now her hips are opening. Her body's much more mobile. She's freer about a lot of things. Yeah, she's feeling energy.
Okay. Okay.
Yay! So
Yeah.
for her, it was reframing it to say, you're feeling alive,
Okay.
right? And so that's what I'm saying. This steady trickle may just be a source of energy. It may not be tremoring, although
Okay.
tremoring is tapping into a source of energy,
Okay.
right? So, if it feels
Just see
okay,
what
just
happens.
let it, yeah, let
Okay.
it happen. In just, I would say, because of your experience of stepping into the foaming water, just stay present to it at first to see if that's also going to start to happen. But if you're feeling like, yeah, this is okay, it could just be that you're empowered enough to touch upon your energy field.
That just little, very, very tiny tremoring and just letting it do its thing and then coming out of it just like that was pleasant and
Right.
good. So just
Because
stay
you were
there.
in the
Okay.
Caribbean and you could see your
Yes.
toes. Yeah.
And the little fish were nice, yes.
Yeah, and next week, and I'm saying this out loud, so if I forget it, somebody will say, didn't you say, we're gonna sit in chairs?
Okay,
And for some people, tremoring on the back is not an option.
okay,
And we don't know that until we try it, and then, you know, sometimes somebody knows right away. But I can, you know, count many people who we started tremoring on the back and realized sitting up was much better for them.
okay.
So that can be a thing also, is that I lay down, I flood. I sit
Okay.
up, I'm fine. Okay, that's a little cliffhanger for next week. Has everybody been able to access the recordings?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's also, if you're gonna be at home, have a chair, and I think you guys, you're gonna be away, but you might be able to join.
No,
Next
we
week,
won't.
right.
No.
Okay.
We're away next week. Yeah, so we'll be getting your recording.
Okay, so when you have the recording, have a chair.
We can do it.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.